Just to introduce Vikki, Corowa, who we've been married for 26 years. I get that right? 26 years.
Yeah, I always think the same thing.
So we've at a point in our lives now, I think, wanting to, maybe the things that we've gone through in our lives with our family and our circumstances, even having the ability to speak to a lot of different people in community now at all levels of community, because we pretty much work with everybody and anybody. That's been our story. And maybe that's, part of the reason I think also why people connect to what you and I have done over the years is because we're trying to, I guess, reach people, but more than just reaching people, I feel like what we've done over the years has been more about treating others how we would want to be treated. So if we were going through hardship, we know that we would and have wanted people to stand with us and not just oppose us at every opportunity, and that's difficult. And I think it's not about trying to remove opposition, because I think you're always going to have opposition, but I think more so is that we have each other first and foremost, but that you have people in your life that are going to encourage you, support you in decisions that are healthy decisions. So anyway, I think people know enough about Reconcile Life, but what they really want to know is about you, about Namarca's wife. Does he have a wife?
I was going to say, do they even know I exist? Probably not.
Well, if they're watching this, hopefully they will now. But so I'm the interviewer, and so what's it like being married to Namarca? Is that laugh a good laugh? So
Entertaining.
Entertaining. There's so many things we could talk about, but I think right now you are on a journey with your health and what that's meant for you. Maybe just talk about, if you want to, and you can, what that health journey has done for you and what opportunities or things have happened that maybe you didn't think were going to happen. Tell the listeners about that, if you want to.
My first response was about to be the question back to you. Don't know if that's a deflection, because I'm pretty good at that. To avoid the question, but it's more along the lines of how has it affected you, because you don't talk about that, and maybe no one knows what's happened to me over the last, really, your listeners, people who know you in a way may know what I've gone through, but people probably don't hear how it's affected you and the children. Because I definitely know how it's affected my life, but
okay,
chronic pain.
So how about we just give people some background on what's happened to you?
Okay. I worked at a community organisation for a number of days a week, and then literally mucking around in the backyard on the 17th of December 2022, I jumped in the air and tore my plantar plate, plantar fascia, and tiniest little fracture to my second toe on my left foot. And I felt it happen when I jumped up in the air. So I didn't land on that foot, but as you do, I'm a cane farmer's kid, you just keep going. And I think my family and my nephews who were standing around knew something had happened. Namarca, you knew something had happened because you could tell by the look on my face, because first off, everyone's bust out laughing because it was a joke that went wrong. And we were all laughing. But
and then you were limping.
And then I was limping, and then I'm like, nah, this is painful as. But then I taped my two toes together because I literally thought, I don't know.
You jarred your toe or something?
Jarred my toe. It went down a bandicoot hole. For those who don't know what bandicoots are, look it up on Google. And I just thought it went down a bandicoot hole, and that I thought I probably broke my toe actually. But you can't do anything with a broken toe, so I just taped it together. And it's the busiest week or busiest time of the year for where I was working. So I hobbled to work, couldn't put a shoe on, basically. Fast forward to January, I went to work. We had some time off over work, and it was the 7th or so of January. I was on crutches. Actually, it flared up. Backtrack. But it was Boxing Day. It ballooned out like a balloon. That's the first time I knew something more than a torn ligament had occurred, because I wasn't able to touch it. Water couldn't run on it. Fan, air, everything. Excruciating pain. So anybody who's had gout or a nervous neuropathy, anything like that, would know the type of pain I'm talking about. So it was just like stabbing pain, like your foot's on fire, like a knife was stabbing my foot, or my toes being pulled off my foot, I suppose, or torn, my toes being torn apart. So that's the type of pain. And I ended up going to the ER, and obviously the x-ray showed. That's how I knew what I had torn. For the first 10 days, or when it happened on the 17th, I didn't know what had happened. And then that's when the x-ray came back that had a little break, and they sent me home in a moon boot, and I'm like, I can't even wear the moon boot because I couldn't handle anything touching it. So by then I was on crutches, and it took me until last year of 2024 to get back off, to literally October the 5th, to be pretty much free from crutches, to be on a walking stick. So almost 2 years on crutches, and wheelchairs, and in between being on a bed. So basically I was diagnosed with a condition called complex regional pain syndrome, and that took about 16 doctors and specialists later from that initial ER appointment, and going into ER multiple times with excruciating pain, and no one being able to do anything, and no pain medication being able to stop it, and no one having answers until 5 months. And I was what they would have called a lucky one. Some people have CRPS, and that's what we shorten it for 2 years or more. Years ago you could have had it for 5 years or more and been undiagnosed, because they thought it was in your head and it was psychological. Because what comes up on MRIs and x-rays is that the injury doesn't be equivalent to the amount of pain that the person feels. So it's a nervous condition, nervous pain, nervous system pain, and basically it's your parasympathetic nervous system on overdrive. So they can't explain it really, and they don't know what causes it, but all they can say is there's a loop that's gone wrong in the brain at somewhere that sends messages to the foot. And someone out there who's going to hear this, who's a doctor, will have a better explanation. But the way physios, doctors, pain specialists explain it to us is that there's a message that's gone wrong from the brain to the foot, or wherever the injuries happen, or to the site of injury back to the brain. So there's a loop message gone wrong, and so the body thinks it's under
stress or something.
Stress is it thinks it's in danger, so it's in fight or flight pretty much most of the time. So cortisol gets pumped around the body. So anything that heightens it stress is the number was one of the biggest things that you guys noticed. If I got stressed, I got more pain. If I had less sleep, I was in more pain. So basically the first month, I think I slept. Did I sleep? I think I was on high drug.
But I think even further back, maybe, I don't know, maybe it was just something that we may have seen the signs of it, or thinking about how you were in pain a few years even before that happened, and all the stuff that we were going through personally, things that we were doing maybe with work, with our community work, volunteer work, all these different things that were compounding. Maybe that's what it was. It was a compounding of it. And I know that's one thing that you came home and you talked about, the pain specialist saying it was like you were putting your hand on a hot plate but not taking it off.
Yes, so he is a specialist that you have to have a specialist diagnose you, and it's basically a process of elimination for them. And there's 16 characteristics basically worldwide. Well, for Australia it is, but it's pretty much worldwide. And I had 15 out of the 16, and the one that I didn't have was sweating all the time. I did have sweating, but it wasn't all the time. So sometimes I had 16 out of 16 of the conditions. So basically he didn't start at the time of the injury. He backdated it. And so he looks at, a pain specialist who diagnoses CRPS looks at the leading up to it. So a lot of it, they believe, has to do with the psychological stresses of the person going through it leading up to that point of injury. They can't blame it because it's such an under-researched, there's not enough people in the world that have it. They can't spend money on the research, and we are basically their research.
And that's because
people.
It's neurological, it's nervous system, and you'd think after all this time they would have understanding of the nervous system in a way that they could probably see this. But this is different. This is different in that, like you say, there's not as much research, or that it's difficult to research.
There are some awesome people that I would direct people to if they are hearing this. It's Not In Your Head podcast.
That's
Dr.
the name
Dave,
of the podcast?
Yeah, it's Not In Your Head podcast. It's Dr. Dave and Justine. They're the people who are running it. She has been a huge support for us. She's got CRPS. She's an American. And Dr. Dan, sorry, I said Dave. Dr. Dan, he's an Aussie doctor who has gone into that. So it's called It's Not In Your Head, INYH is the podcast. And it is literally going in the direction, not initially he looked into other things, but now it's understanding how it's connected through your whole body. And so people who want to know more definitely need to watch that, because it's not just pain the way people think pain is. It's so connected. And that is where I think when I was first diagnosed, I was told not to research it, because it was it's known as the worst disease known to man, the worst condition on the planet. And so I actually didn't look it up. I remember thinking, I haven't been diagnosed with a condition that can kill me directly, but indirectly people die from this. I eventually looked it up and Googled it after 3 months, and there's 3 pieces of information that first day. I was told, don't Google it, don't look it up, don't research it, don't get addicted to drugs on it, and don't get your limb amputated.
Which is what people have done.
Well, the reason, and there's many of people do it, and I was just talking to an old friend of ours today about it, because I haven't been able to walk that good this week, and I've been in a lot of pain, and you even had to carry me this week help me walk, literally. So 2.5 years on, and so there's days where, you know, the thought goes through your head, and I just said to this person today, it was like, well, you'd rather have, for me personally, there's many people who have had limbs amputated because of the pain of CRPS, but he is an anaesthetist who did it, and he has been involved with amputees who've had their limbs amputated, and he just looked at me and said, some may not get phantom limb pain, but phantom limb pain's real, Vikki, and for CRPS people it might be even more painful. So he didn't know enough, but he just said that to me. And then obviously him being an anaesthetist who deals a lot with drugs, that was his main thing as well, as like, because it is a high it's known as a suicide disease around the world for most people, and it's the highest pain thing on the Richter scale of the McGill scale. So a lot of people get addicted to drugs and try all types of things. So his main thing is try to do physio and psychology. So you get signed up with a psychologist here in Australia as soon as you get diagnosed. So I couldn't believe it, hearing that diagnosis as a believer. And some people have died through suicide. There was a group I was with early on, with an American group, and in that group someone had but other people suffer, and there's other people whose body, and that's what in the it's not in your head thing talk about. Justine is very good at it, how she said to me right at the start, don't let your other physical health symptoms get swallowed up with just the CRPS diagnosis, because then my eyes got affected, my stomach got affected, and I was laying in bed with all over body pain. So sometimes you can get CRPS and you think you've got this all over body pain, but it's not CRPS affecting all over your body. It's just your nervous system is super sensitive. It's sensitization, you know. So what is affecting your body in certain parts? And like you said, Namarca, I was affected definitely back in 2018, and I ignored those symptoms.
What do they say causes it? Is it anybody can get it, or is it only certain people that get it?
There is a higher percentage of women worldwide that get it. Anglo-Saxon women. Children get it, and they can't. So I suppose it's very hard to figure out the why, because the broadness of who gets it eliminates the why, I suppose, because initially they were thinking it's brought on by stress, and driven women stress. That was the higher number, is women over like in their 30s and 40s and older. But then there's men who get it, and then there's young girls who can get it who are 10. So you can't ask that they've got stress. So generally it happens from an injury or an operation of some form, cut. You can even get it from a cut. It's your body's, no one knows why. Your body just, some people have got it. I've heard stories where they've had an accident, a car accident, 2 years later, to that limb, they've developed CRPS.
CRPS is a rare condition, and there aren't many people who have it, yet you've spoken to people who have it face to face. It's not saying online, but you actually know people locally.
Yes.
So what were their stories? Are there similar stories? They're high stress lives? Are they female? Are they Anglo-Saxon, like you say?
Two are female, one's male. The male is high stress. He's still got it. He still works. I lost my job because of it.
How do you lose your job to the condition in, like, are there the symptoms meaning that you can't function? Does it mean that you can't think? Like, what are the reasonings behind some people keeping their job and others losing their job? It just depends on
your workplace, I'd say. For me, my workplace, I was the only one who did that role.
Which was a pretty high stress role.
Very high stress role, and they needed someone who was able to go back there to that role, and I couldn't give them a time. I couldn't give them. I was stuck in a bed. I couldn't even move. Like, the only way that I can explain to people, especially for that first year, I couldn't put a shoe on for the first year. It took me a year to put a shoe on my foot, and it was excruciating. I had to work up. Even now, putting a shoe on, over 2.5 years, like, it's August, so it's over 2.5 years since I've had the injury, and today was a prime example. I had to take my shoe off because my brain, it's like my brain stresses, and I have to do this mind, it's constant renewing my mind to say, brain, you are okay, your shoe is normal, you are meant to wear a shoe. So I couldn't handle that. To go through the techniques of physiotherapy and healing and the mirror work and the neuroplasticity work is huge, and it was overwhelming. There was many times I cried, because to hear them say, you just got to do this, like, my brain was so overloaded with messages. But those first few months, the pain's unbearable, because you can't get away from it. And I think for me, to have pain that you can't get away from, the only way you can get away from it was, and I've never taken drugs, I've never drunk alcohol I've never been drunk. So to use drugs and prescribe drugs, and that was one of the things I couldn't go back to work for. But the thing is, I had to be, you saw me, on a bed for a month, literally knocked out.
Yeah, I remember you actually looking like someone I didn't know, in that you were always someone who was on the go, constantly moving, constantly working, constantly caring, just alive. And to see what the effects of those drugs do, it's just night and day. Like, asleep and you wouldn't even rouse. Like, that was the concerning thing, is to see somebody who's gone from one state into the complete opposite. Now, I must probably think, there's probably a lot of people out there that have that with family members who go through hospital treatment, maybe, even just having a car accident, and from someone you just spoke to the day before, to not being able to communicate. Just having a glimpse of that and seeing how heavy that must hit for families. But the drugs that do it, intentionally or unintentionally, how people react to drugs, like, that's the biggest thing for me, is seeing not just the impact of the actual condition, but the ripple effects of what comes out of a condition. But it hasn't all been negative. What else has come out of it for you that you would say is positive?
The positive has been the deepest internal learning. If I had been healed miraculously, because there is no medical cure yet, if I had been healed miraculously within the first month, even within the first 3 months, now 2.5 years on, I can say even within the first 6 months, I would not have learnt first year. I would not have learnt what I've learnt now. Like, I am actually thankful, if that could even be I was probably a year in. I remember it. October 2023 was probably the lowest. That's when I didn't want to keep living. That was the lowest I had been in this whole time. And that was devastating for me to feel so low. And I was not a person to feel like that, but to get to such desperation, I wouldn't have gone to the depths of who I am and who I've become without going so low, without going through what I've gone through. Like, and that's what I mean. If I had been healed straight away, I wouldn't have learnt what I've learnt now. Like, I'm actually grateful. If a person can be grateful for having such a traumatic thing, that sounds bizarre, but, and the longevity of the traumatic thing, that sounds like I'm wishing it upon myself. I don't even know how to explain it, but I'm thankful for it, if that makes sense.
It
like
does.
As much as it's been horrible and hard, the thing I can see that's come good from it is I've changed as a person. I hope people have seen that change. I think I've become I've thought I've been more gracious to people before. I was always empathetic, but an area definitely have never even been in is chronic pain. So I've been open to a whole new world and mental health. Because this is, as much as people don't talk about it and they say it's not in your head, and it's not made up. The pain's like literally there. It's crazy because my horse could stress out and then I stress out and then I feel pain. Like, it's, you've seen it happen, and it's, I don't even know how to explain
How it's all
that.
connected. Maybe that's one of the things about talking, how you were saying it's hard to research and how it all connects. Like, it's seems to be very situational, not just in the terms of, physically 1 + 1 = 2, but whatever's going on, whatever you're feeling, like all of those things that I think even impact, you know what I mean? So, but going back to what you said before, you said, the changes in yourself. I mean, I can see that in, like I was saying about you being an active person, seeing you as someone who is constantly moving, up early, outdoors, all those things, and now seeing you sitting, doing something that you probably didn't know you had a gift at.
I still want to be outdoors. I think that's the hardest thing. And that's the thing I fight. And people, like, the whole thing is, because I'm, done counselling, and they're like, acceptance therapy and acceptance theory, and even the doctors, like, early on, you got to accept this to move on. I'm like, what the heck is accepting this condition going to do? And so then I thought I would go through that, but there's still that, what you talked about, there's still that Vikki Corowa, who was this little Vikki Gibson, like this kid that loved running around, loved being outdoors, loved running through the farm, loved playing sport, grew into an adult, still loves doing that, has this condition, and I'm meant to just click that off through accepting that I can't do it anymore. But it's me trying to figure out, how can I do that? It's still a fight in me to want to do that. To not be able to walk hike, swim. To be able to write books has helped, or start writing. It's shifting my focus, but it doesn't.
It's not giving you what you want to do.
Yeah, I can't run out and play touch. I can't run. I can't
walk.
I can't walk, let alone run. That's why, and people like this jump in a wheelchair. You know, there's people that are so quick to say, be thankful for what you have. It's not that I'm not thankful for what I have, because I keep reminding myself what I'm thankful for. For every person who's said that, I would like to know, before you say that, to think if you've had something stripped from you, like literally, it was stripped overnight, like in a second from me, like not even, it was a blink of an eye. And it's like people have that in car accidents. They're stripped from it. A loved one is stripped from someone. Like, you don't forget them. You don't just move on. You don't just get over it. You don't just blink and jump over it like you see in these hurdles in the Olympics. You don't just do that. And that's what psychologists, that's what counselors, that's what they all think. You just got to get over it. And I'm a counsellor, and they say it takes 8 to 10 sessions. I've been doing this for 2.5 years. Actually, probably not 2.5 years, because I didn't sign up until about May of 2023. So, 2 years. And I would have been ashamed to say I'd seen a psychologist for that long prior to this. And now I realise how long it takes to dig deep. So I'm not against short counselling psychology sessions, and there's quick healing and there's quick things and there's things like that, but I am only getting to my past now for some things, because I'm good at shielding, and I'm only getting to some things that I've avoided for years.
Deflecting?
Yeah, I'm good for deflector. Very good at it. So
what would you say to people out there, because we're running out of time now, gotta go.
Yep.
What do you want to say to people about anything that you've learned, that you wish people knew, even what you potentially wanted to know yourself, but what would you want people to know out there about this?
Probably my message I keep saying to people is, don't quit. If anyone's got any type of pain, really, mental health, suicide is a real thing. Don't quit. Physical pain's real. And the anguish that physical pain causes is real. Because when people say, so it could start with physical pain, obviously mine did, but it definitely goes to the psychological, and there's plenty of people who don't have physical pain that end up with mental anguish. And don't quit is the biggest thing, because if you quit, that's the only reason why I'm still going. And by the grace of God and with family, I just keep going, because like I say to people, there's no other option, because the only other option is death. And that's like, I could just exist. I was just existing for how long? I've probably only just started to live a bit more now, the last few months. Each time I keep thinking I've been living, but I think I've gotten more of I go up and down, really, probably, you would say. Little
Well-
mini horses are probably helping me more
Well, I
than
was
the
going
big
to say,
horse.
you've got a Dippy, that's an uppy. At the moment, Dippy's the name of our
Little Dippy and
one of
Chester.
our miniature horses.
Mm.
And they've been just that mental health space, like you said, that I won't call it therapy, but it's just being outdoors and connecting, being around an environment, in a situation, an environment that's calming, not stressing, and having your mind taken somewhere that's a good place, and being able to talk, even talking to horses,
Literally.
but literally just talking. And maybe that's something that people out there who we live in a technology heavy social media influence world, that nobody actually uses their voice and speaks and talks about what they're going through, and it doesn't necessarily have to be deep or heavy. It's just having someone to talk to, as simple as just talking. And being available is one thing, but I think it's important that the message that you just gave about not giving up. Thanks for talking with me tonight.
Sorry, I cried.
So everyone, this is my wife.
I tried not to cry.
This is my wife, Vikki. This is just a little part of our story, and hopefully we can share some more soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Sorry.